Zen fam. Right. So let's sort something out before we begin, okay? For a lot of the new guys out there, you might not know this about me. A lot of the guys who've been here a while, you do ken this, but it's good to say it just in case. Maybe there's been a miscommunication over the years, but let's get this sorted, alright? Yes, I am primarily a PlayStation gamer. I prefer PlayStation. It is my system of choice. However, I do not bear any ill will towards the other platforms, the owners and the players of those other platforms. Nintendo, Xbox, PC, mobile. All gaming is good gaming. End of. All gamers are gamers. Male, female, black, white, disabled, Asian, whatever. System, whether you play one game religiously, you play a whole bunch of games, you only play online games, you only play story-focused games, you only play sports games, whatever. You're a gamer. If you call yourself a gamer, you're a gamer. You enjoy video games, you're a gamer. You come here, you enjoy the videos, excellent. That's all I ask. That's all I have. If you love gaming, you're in the right place. This is the right kind of video. That's enough. There's no hatred here. There's no walls, there's no barriers, there's no gatekeeping. All gaming is good. Upon saying that, we have to discuss events today and the events that have led to the events of today and all the things that come about that. And I have a conclusion to make as well. Right, so today has been a sticky wicket for Xbox, has it not? They come out and they go like, yeah, we're going to do some layoffs today. There's going to be a lot of them. And they were like, oh god, here we go. Then the next announcement, we're laying off 900 people. 900 people. Yeah. That's families, that's rents, that's people's lives. And the people that are connected to those people's jobs, lives. That's a lot of money, that's a lot of stress out there. There's a lot of people now from the industry now going, I now have no job. I now have to find another job in the industry that itself has been contracting, because I don't know if you've noticed, I don't know how much other media you guys watch apart from me, but it's more than fair to say that for the last year and a half, there has been so many stories on so many outlets about other industry closures, mergers, and basically people being let go. It's an epidemic at this point, where there's been so many closures in the industry, game studios shutting down, games being discontinued, projects just completely disappearing. Games some even times games have been developed for a long period of time and the game is literally shuttered for tax reasons. It's disgusting to think about. And all of this, basically breeds a sense of uncertainty in the industry, both in the investor class and in the customer base, which of course affects game sales and system sales. I mean, you could basically say for Microsoft, it all basically start to go downhill at the launch of the Xbox One. With their TV, sports, spy camera in your room, DRM. And the industry basically turned around and went, what? Jog on. And rightly so, because a lot of those moves were distinctly anti-consumer and anti-gamer in a lot of ways too. It was just not a good move. Now, yes, admittedly, so they did pull it back, but the damage was done, especially after Sony landed that whole punch with Adam Boyes and Shohei Yoshida passing games to each other going like, this is how you share a game on PlayStation. Thanks. I mean, that was a meme. That was a moment. And Microsoft never truly recovered from that. I mean, throughout the time of the Xbox One, it sold less than a third of the units of the PlayStation 4, or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but it was often said it was a 3-to-1 in favour of PlayStation. Ouch. And it's like, it's never really truly gelled. I mean, Xboxes have never sold in the tiger economies, especially Japan. Wow. And then, like, you add in the whole fact of, like, the best deal in gaming, the Xbox Game Pass, which is a great deal for those gamers that get into it. However, on paper, it doesn't work. Because, you would take that one gamer buys Game Pass for whatever it is a year. Generally, it's less than the price of 1 or 2 games. But for that price, they're getting every game, and most of those games day one release. That the math ain't mathin'. You know, if you're getting access to all those games for that one low price, and that's one person, then you times it out towards all the tons and tons and tons and tons of people that have Game Pass. Even then, with the compound money that comes in for all those Game Passes, you still have all those people technically getting all those games for far, far less. So it's the same problem, just bigger. I mean, it's the same level of problem because it's the same. It's like if it's 2 people buying the same Game Pass at the same price, having access to the same amount of games, it's the same level, but it's just like just bigger numbers, but it's the same level. So if it's like 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 1,000,000 people, it's still 1,000,000 people's worth of one person worth. It's just the numbers are bigger because it's more people, but it's still the same level. At least I think that's how it runs. I mean, that might be wrong. That math is not my strong point, but you get what I'm saying. It's like it's an unsustainable model. It's, you know, I mean, the Netflixification of video games doesn't work because, well, for one, video games are far more expensive. I mean, you go out and you buy a DVD or a Blu-ray. I mean, the most you'll spend on Blu-ray these days is what, like maybe a really expensive 4K HD Blu-ray. That'd be like maybe like 16 quid. And yet you're paying, you know, about that, maybe a little more for your Netflix subscription, where you get all the movies. Now, admittedly, you don't keep the movie, you don't have the special features, you don't have it on your shelf. There are drawbacks to purely digital media existence, as we're seeing more and more these days. But we've moved past that. So, Xbox Game Pass on paper doesn't work, and it certainly doesn't work in the real world, as much as a good deal as it is. And as I've said, it is a very good deal for the gamer, but it's ultimately an unworkable system for the industry. That's causing a problem, because that basically means that Microsoft has gone, we're footing the bill for this, and we're not seeing a return. And now you've also gone and bought all these studios, and you said that like this would get more Game Pass numbers, and did get some more Game Pass numbers eventually, you know, at the start. But those numbers have tailed off because we've seen that Game Pass numbers have gone down and down and down and down, as people have sold their Xboxes or just not bothered, or, you know, they've cut back and they decide to buy 1 or 2 games a year, and they're going, well, yeah, I'll buy the 1 or 2 games a year, and that's generally me. And, you know, it's just one thing after another. I mean, the Xbox came out with the Series consoles. Great. I mean, the Xbox Series X is a great bit of kit. I'm not as keen on the controller because I like my symmetrical sticks, but I've played on the Xbox Series X. I've got a couple of friends with them, and they're good systems. They're strong, they're capable, you know, they're reliable bits of kit. Much like the PS5, they're they're fairly similar in capabilities. I mean, there's pluses and minuses on both sides, but they're both really strong, really good systems. But because the Xbox Series S is a potato, and Xbox basically delivered an edict to the industry going like, if you're making a game, it's got to run on both these machines. Even though this one's a potato, it has to be able to run the game that you deliver. So then that means that devs are stuck, because then they have, if it's a multi-platform game, they've got to make sure that it runs on the S, which means they can't really take a full advantage of the abilities of the X and the PS5. And as gaming doesn't progress, which is one of the main reasons why so many games these days don't feel like there's any progression, there's any evolution of video games, because they're having to cater to the stuff that they're putting on the S. A potato, as I so rightly put it. In fact, I made a video about that, about the Series S potato. So they've held back the industry, they've held back themselves, they don't get themselves enough funding because they're not selling video games because they're buying game passes. Microsoft then goes like, well, you've bought all these companies. Then the fact of the matter is, now they're laying off people from those companies when they told the FTC that there would be no industry layoffs. Hello? It's like games are being scrapped left, right and centre. Studios are being scrapped left, right and centre. Jobs are being scrapped left, right and centre. Livelihoods are being scrapped left, right and centre. It's like, then Phil comes along and says, not only am I getting rid of 900 people, I'm also getting rid of myself. See you later, I'm going to bounce. Which means a new person comes in and goes, right now I've got to fix everything. That creates another level of instability in the industry. And it just keeps going and going and going. It's just like more and more instability, more and more shutdowns, more and more unfinished games. I mean, Sony, the whole thing of like going far too hard to the live service model, you know, with their idea to put out, what was that, like 11 or 15 or whatever it was, you know, live service games, most of which didn't come out. Some of the ones that have come out have proven to be complete and utter disasters. There's like Concord, Marathon, and even though it wasn't technically Sony, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. I mean, I could go on and on. There's been game after game that's just been mince. Live service games where, you know, you do the same thing ad infinitum and the player gets bored. The fact of the matter is, even if you are a guy that is purely about online games, you probably don't have time for 2 online games in your life. You probably have time for 1. I mean, between work, family, being a human being, shopping, eating, sleeping, you know, family, you know, all the things that go into being a human being, a functioning person on planet Earth. You know, if you're trying to keep 2 persistent online video game worlds running, you know, trying to be the best thing you can be in both of those, yeah, I don't see that happening. Unless you're like some sort of crazy person who's like, you know, plays video games for a living and gets to be able to have the time to exist in 2 persistent online worlds. Honey, that dog will not hunt. So you got the online push continuously. Then you've got the whole idea that, like, you know, Microsoft is basically going, well, we're just going to be people that make games. Well, probably actually might not even make systems. And they've put that idea out that there might not be another Xbox coming. Then they confuse the market by telling the market that basically, no, everything's going to be an Xbox. Your TV will be an Xbox. Your phone will be an Xbox. This banana will be an Xbox. And then people just roundly ridiculed Xbox for that particular campaign and that particular notion. Then they come out and go, oh, we're doing a handheld with ROG Ally. Yeah, a gaming handheld ROG Ally, which is basically a ROG Ally mobile gaming platform with an Xbox logo slapped in it, probably running on a Windows operating system. Windows operating systems have proven in the past not to be very good for mobile gaming, especially as when you do mobile gaming with a Microsoft system, it usually tends to be a pared down mobile version. And pretty much every mobile version I know of that Microsoft operating systems is geek. And as far as I'm aware, admittedly, I'm not a PC player, so I don't know this for certain, but I'm fairly certain that most PC players generally steer away from Microsoft operating systems for their gaming. I don't know if it's Linux or something else, but as far as I'm aware, and if you're a PC player, then obviously please typey down below, let them below know. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of you don't rely on Microsoft for your gaming experiences on PC. I mean, there's Steam and all the rest of it, but I don't know if Steam works with Microsoft. Like I say, I'm not a PC guy. Anyway, so you've got that to contend with. You've got the job losses. You've got the rising prices. You've got the idea that like Microsoft is coming one week and going, oh, we're making a system. Oh, we're not making a system. We don't like handhelds. We're making a handheld. We don't like VR. Well, we're doing a VR headset with Facebook, but it's only in limited numbers. So, what the hell? Pick a lane, Microsoft. Have a direction. I mean, the fact of the matter is, right? It's always been a good thing that Microsoft has been alongside Sony. They make each other work for our attention, for our money, for our patronage. They keep each other honest because, it's sort of like, well, there's console exclusivity, there's the way that the consoles work, there's the pads they have. They make fan bases for people that like the way that they do things. But then obviously, it's like, you can't play this game on that platform and so on and so forth. But now it's the case that, like, hell, you can get Forza on a PlayStation. You can get Gears of War on a PlayStation. You can get Indiana Jones on the PlayStation. There were games that were only going to come out, probably, for Microsoft, or at least be heavily delayed by Microsoft before they came out to Sony, when they did the ABK deal. ABK deal, the Activision Blizzard deal. So that was like stuff like Call of Duty and yada yada. With all these games that were going to be held back, like Indiana Jones, for ages and ages and ages. Now just coming to PlayStation because Microsoft need to make the money. They need the game. They need the game sales. It's like if they get Halo, that's it. It's game over. Pardon the pun. And it's like, my God, it's sort of like all the stuff that makes Microsoft is just going to be everywhere for everybody. Which is kind of a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. It's very much chicken and egg. And it leads me to this conclusion that, like, yes, it's very much the case that we are going to get a PlayStation 6. PlayStation have come out and basically said, yeah, well, that's what we're doing. I mean, Haruki Totoki came out recently and going, yes, the next generation is very much on our mind. We are very much thinking about PlayStation 6. Corporate speak. No specs, no nothing like that. Just sort of like, oh yeah, PlayStation 6, that's a good thing. That's what it came down to basically, but Japanese. And there's a lot of corporate, stuff. And, we'll believe it when we see it. But, the idea that there's going to be a PlayStation 6 is pretty much a cemented notion at this point. What it will do, what it will look like, how it will perform, and so on, nobody knows. I mean, I did that video recently about, like, till we see it, we know nothing. We will see rumours aplenty about what it will do, when it will come out, what it will cost, what it might do, what it might cost. Then there'll be the renders of what it will look like, and then some of them will be renders that we've seen before, and some of them will be new renders, and some of them will be AI slop renders, and it'll be horrendous, and we'll just should ignore the whole thing. But that was that video. But yeah. The main thing that I think is because I don't think there is actually going to be an Xbox, or if there is going to be an Xbox, it will not be in the way that we know it. It might be a dongle, it might just be a really cut down system that like has a decent amount of memory, but you won't buy the games for it anymore. You'll rent the games for it, and it'll be Game Pass will be a much scaled down thing. And I think it'll be like a very different Xbox to what we've known previously, and I think it's going to annoy a lot of people, which indeed will then kill off Xbox if they haven't indeed already waved the white flag and decided just to not be a games company anymore. Might even sell all the properties that they've bought, which then of course will change the industry, because then there's going to be a lot of companies that have a lot of money but have no scruples, like Tencent, Take-Two, EA. They'll buy all these larger properties, and then that'll just be horrendous, because then there'll be all these companies that are kind of rubbish owning all the games. At least it'll split things up a bit, so there's that. But yeah, I don't see many of these game companies that were previously independent companies becoming independent companies again, much as I would like that, much as I think that would actually be a positive move for the industry. I don't see it happening. It'd be nice, but yeah, I just don't see it happening. But with all that, that basically then means that the PlayStation 6 is coming out by itself. Now that doesn't mean that then PlayStation has won the war. That then means there is no war. That technically means, to me, that the idea of a console generation, and follow me on this, okay? A console generation is now no longer a concept at all. Can you really have a generation if there's just one machine? Seriously. I mean, a generation to me denotes at least 2 machines or more. But if you have just one machine, I don't think you have a generation anymore. I think you just have a release of a games machine without competition. If I'm wrong, then please, obviously, typey down below, tell me why I'm wrong. But I don't think I am. I don't think we have a generation anymore. I think we'll just have an upgrade. An upgrade without a pushback force to make sure that it's the best upgrade it could be. I mean, I'm sure it'll be a good system, but I'm sure it could also simultaneously have been future retrospectively thinking a better system. We'll probably get a couple of years into the PlayStation 6 and gone, if there had been an Xbox system that come out, I'm sure this would be better. I'm pretty sure that come 2029, 2030, we here in the YouTube space will be going wouldn't it have been good if the PlayStation 6 had had competition, because now it would be doing this and this and this. You watch. I will stake what little reputation I have on that. You could even come back to this video and shove it in my face in 2028. Sorry, 2029 and 2030 and go, Zemblock, you said this back in 2025. Ha ha ha. Or maybe you'll come back and go, whoa dude, you said this in 2025. You were so right. So, and trust me, as far as I'm concerned, I pretty much think I'll be here in 2030 still making videos. Because I'm a stubborn SOB, so I am. I'm an opinionated one, me. You've come to recognise that. But yeah, I really honestly believe that there will no longer be a console generation. There will be no console generation wars. There will just be a PlayStation that comes out, and then 2 to 3 years after, there might be another Nintendo system that comes out. But because the systems won't come out at roughly the same time, I don't think you can call that a generation. Because Nintendo has never followed the whole point of console generations. They come out whenever they want to, generally speaking, at the halfway point of every generation that's happened over the last 25-30 years. I mean, the Switch came out midway, the GameCube came out midway, the N64 came out midway. That's just what Nintendo do. I mean, was it Tim Geddes called it WND's Weird Nintendo Decisions? Yeah. Nintendo is a weird company that definitely dances to the beat of its own drum. We can't deny that. Hopefully, Sony will actually come up with some really stellar stuff and keep gaming going, and maybe if they don't have to do so much battling, maybe they might actually get back into making some really good stuff and push the industry forward, because they won't have to think so much about battling and about trying to prove themselves. Maybe they'll be able to relax a bit and go, actually now's the time we can get really creative and really creative, because we don't have to worry about our creativity slowing sales against the other company that's making the same stuff that everybody knows, likes and trusts. We can actually get a bit wild and a bit crazy and make some new interesting things, and there'll be space to sell them because people will be just going, well, this is where we buy our games. That is a positive outcome that could happen. I know I'm probably living in dreamland, but I'm trying to give you both sides of the coin here. I'm trying to be balanced. I'm trying to be not a complete doom monger, and I just thought of that now. But obviously I'd love your thoughts. And of course I'd love you to hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course as always, aye, nae bother.